But anyways, Kwame Yasharala, rise to the nation of Israel, to the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and to the Native Americans, and greetings and shalom to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. So, just going to go into our Sabbath study this evening. All right, and definitely, it was a good time for us, man. For Passover, we got a lot of spiritual understanding. You know, we got we had a lot of time to reflect. You know what I mean, on many of the mistakes that we made. You know, we've had a chance to see where we went off, or we went wrong. And now the process is us for is basically for us to correct ourselves and prepare for the rest of the year, because each feast has a symbolic meaning to it. you know you just don't celebrate the Most High's feast for nothing. And just as Moses showed us, man, many of the you know the spiritual things behind the law, right? Because just like it says in the book of Romans chapter 7 and verse 14, it says what? For the law is spiritual. Okay. So we have a spiritual law, a living law that not only do we have to abide by, right, but it also shows us, it shows us many things, man, even about ourselves, right? And you see, that's why a lot of people try to downplay the Bible, you know, especially in this wicked system in this society. You see that they try to always downplay the scriptures, right? Always, because this is a black man's book, and this is a book that helps us correct ourselves. It's for our correction. It's for our understanding. It's our history, okay? And even if you don't believe it's our history, it's a history about a black people, man. It tells you about their origin, it gives you their rise, and then it gives you their fall, right? And it shows you how that nation, how it rose in righteousness, and then how it fell in wickedness. Okay. So, the Bible, you know what I'm saying, is a key book for us. And this is why we have to understand, man, going back, when we go back and read it, just how we do have to apply many other things, right? So just like with Passover, we just got out of Passover, right? So what was one of the main things that we had to eat, right? During Passover? Unleavened bread, right? So we had to eat the unleavened bread. We also did what? We abstained from yeast. Okay. So remember, we know what the yeast represents, right? The yeast represents leaven. Leaven represents what? Wickedness, malice, and wickedness, just as it says in the book of First Corinthians, chapter 5, right? In verse 7, right? Where Paul says what? Therefore, purge out the old leaven, right? Or purge out the old leaven, all right, so that you may become a new lump. So by us purging out the wickedness of our souls, the Most High says, all right, now you got to do it physically, but then this is the spiritual meaning behind, why you're abstaining from the leaven. All right, and here now eat the unleavened bread. All right, and remember, and during the Passover week, you know what I mean, we went into the understanding of what that bread was. The angel's bread, all right? Christ being what? The bread of life, the unleavened bread of life. Okay. And that's what they ate in the wilderness. Okay. So it all had a spiritual meaning to it. So that's why, we keep the law physically, right? But, we have to understand, man, why is the Most High having us do this? Why does the Most High have us constantly be aware of uncleanness? Why does he always have us mindful of it? Why does he tell us to separate ourselves when we are unclean? Or why does he tell us to bathe ourselves or submerge ourselves in water? All of those things are aspects of what? Of purification, cleanliness, right? You see, baptism is in there. Okay. So it all has something. It all has something behind it. All right. And I hope everybody's getting what like what I'm trying to say. It all has a spiritual meaning behind it that we have to make sure that we take heed to. Okay. So now let's open up to the book of Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, and let's get chapter 1. So you can title this "Keeping Your Faith Even in Hard Times." Keeping your faith even in hard times. All right. Because a lot of people got, they struggle with that. You know what I mean? This walk can get tough sometimes. Not only you dealing with you're dealing with, abandonment. You know what I'm saying? Loved ones leaving your side, or family members hating you. You know, or having to sacrifice your job because they won't give you the Sabbath off. You know what I mean? Or having to sue your job and go through all of the legal issues and problems that come along with that stuff. It can be a headache. It could test you. It could try you. Your family can test you. It could try you. Your wife can test you and try you. Your children can test you. You know what I mean? A lot of these things, man, it pushes to the very limit to make you say, "Damn, I just want to give up." Even when even dealing with, like I said, dealing in relationships with your spouse. You know, it could push you to the limit to where you want to just like, damn, I give up. You know, but this is where the scriptures come in for us. Remember, this is our comfort and this is our consolation right here. So this is why we have to make sure, man, that when we start feeling like that, we got to go back to this book. All right, this living book. Okay, with these holy words in it. All right, these words of wisdom, these words of knowledge and understanding. So now, in the book of Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 1, and we're going to start at verse, let's see, let's start at verse 26. Okay. So it says, if thou desire wisdom, keep the commandments. So the first thing, right, in the scripture that we see, right, it says, if you desire wisdom, it says what? Keep the commandments. So we desire to be wiser than what we are, to grow in our understanding. We got to make sure that we keeping the commandments of the Father. And it says, and the Lord shall give her unto thee. So you see what? It says the Lord shall give her unto thee. Okay, he's going to give you wisdom. All right. At as bad as you want it. If you want more wisdom, the Lord will give you more wisdom. If you don't want wisdom, then guess what? The Lord ain't gonna give wisdom to you. All right. And I know Solomon always, he'll use the analogy of wisdom, referring to her as a woman. All right. In the Greek, wisdom means what? In the Greek, so it's Sophia, right? So it's in a feminine sense. All right, in the Greek, right? In the masculine, in you know the Hebrew. So we see that the analogy given is how we have to treat wisdom. You know what I'm saying? Like we would treat our spouse. We have to make sure that wisdom is close to us. Close to our bosom. We love wisdom. Treat wisdom right. All right. So again, if thou desire wisdom, keep the commandments, and the Lord shall give her unto thee. For the fear of the Lord is wisdom and instruction. Right. So you see, the fear of the Lord is wisdom and instruction. You see that? And he says, and faith and meekness are his delight. So now remember, that's one of the most important things, man. It's like, when he talks about the fear of the Lord is wisdom, right? That means that's talking about your learning. Okay. You learning, you growing, right? Through the experiences that you're going through. Okay. So when you come into contact with certain things, man, like, so what happens when you meet a bad spouse, right? Then you say, like, damn, I ain't never going through that again. I learned my lesson from dealing with that brother or with that sister, right? So that's how you gain experience. That's how you gain wisdom. All right. The more you go through certain things, the wiser you become. All right. And then the wiser you become, right? So when others go through it, you be able to help them up out of it. You see that? That's why you have elder brothers and elder sisters, right? A woman that's dealing with children. She may seek understanding, from a sister that is more seasoned with children and have older children. And a woman that has the older children, she could tell you everything that you need to know, you know, to help you out the best way that you possibly can because she's been through the experience, through the childbirth, through the child raising. She's been through the tough times. You know what I mean? She done probably had arguments with her husband. Husband probably looked at her crazy. She probably looked at her husband crazy, you know. But the thing is that, you can share that wisdom with somebody, man, and help them out when they're having a bad time. All right. Or they having like a little rough patch in their life. Okay. And then instruction. So remember, how do you receive instruction? Right? By taking heed to the Most High's word. All right. The things in which he lets us know, man, in the scriptures, right? Those are the instructions that the Father gives us. And then he says, and faith and meekness, right? So through your obedience, right, and your humility, that is the Most High's delight. Because when you have faith, right, you're dealing with like just your absolute, complete, reliance upon the Most High. You see that? Just like with Job, right? David, you know what I'm saying? Samuel, you see all of those different patriarchs, man, that had that faith in the Most High, that undying, unyielding faith in God, to where it was unmovable. You see that? To where even though David sinned, man, you see what he didn't fall away from the Most High. All right, he got closer to the Most High. Okay. So because he understood if the Most High leaves me, the Most High leaves or departs from me, you know what I mean? I'm done. So that's why he said he wanted to cleave unto the Most High. That's why he asked the Most High, man, take not thy Holy Spirit. He said, hide not thy face from me and take not thy Holy Spirit away, right? So that's what David didn't want to happen. He didn't want to lose the Most High. So what did he do? He wrote all of these psalms, man, giving the Most High honor and praise. He prayed, fasted day and night to do what? To get closer to the Lord. All right. But faith and meekness, right? David had to humble himself. Many of our fathers, right? They humbled themselves before the Lord. Okay, in their most dire need. And even when they weren't in dire need, right, they still humbled themselves and they still kept faith. Just as we read, all right? And that's the example for us. Okay. Real quick, let's go to the book of Romans real quick. Then we're gonna come back here. Romans chapter 15. Chapter 15 and verse 4. Now check this out. So in Romans chapter 15 and verse 4, and it says, for whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning. You see that? So the things that we read about in the scriptures, right, they were written for us to learn from. It was written for us to learn from. So that we can what? Apply, right? From what we learn from those situations in our lives. So if we ever came into the situation, right? Perfect example, right? Dealing with David. All right. So you come into contact with a beautiful woman, right? Or a woman comes into contact with a man. Okay. And the temptation is strong, right? So now, what did David do? David fell into the trap of adultery, right? So you don't want to fall into that trap, right? Because David dealt with a woman who had a husband. Okay. So now, and then you see Bathsheba, she basically stepped aside from her husband, right? So they both should have died, you know what I mean? But we know the Most High had mercy upon them. Okay. But now, what should you do in that situation? Well, you got to go back to Joseph now. You see? Because in that situation, Joseph showed you right there, the proper situation, what you do. If a woman is coming on to you, right, strong, or a man is coming on to you strong, and you know that you have a spouse, so what you supposed to do? You're supposed to run. Or as the scriptures say, flee from sin as fleeing from a serpent, from the face of a serpent. You see that? So that's what happened. Joseph fled from that evil situation. Okay. So that's why the scripture in chapter 15 in Romans, man, is important for us to know. Because it said, like it says, for whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. All right. So now, he said that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures. So this is where our patience has to be, right? And this is where our comfort comes from too. Because these words, we have to understand they're what? They're reassuring to us. Okay? That's what we have to begin to understand, man. And that's why he said, and says, comfort of the scriptures that we might have hope. All right? So that's what we need. Okay? We got to have that hope that all the things that are written in this book, right? The promises that we're going to receive are going to come to pass. Because as we read on, you're going to see that many of our fathers, that's all they had was what? Hope. All right? That's all they had was hope. Now he says in verse 5, now the God of patience and consolation grant you to be like-minded one towards another according to Christ Jesus. All right? So that's why we have to all be like-minded in our understanding. All right, when we read the scriptures and we're learning from the scriptures. Okay. So now let's go back to the book of Ecclesiasticus chapter 1. And as it says in verse 27 again, the fear of the Lord is wisdom and instruction. Faith and meekness are his delight. Okay. So obedience and humility, that's the the Most High's delight. Okay. So now it says, verse 28, distrust not the fear of the Lord when thou art poor, and come not unto him with a double heart. You see that? So don't distrust the fear of the Lord. The fear that you have for the Most High, do not distrust it. Okay? Because there's a reason why you fear the Heavenly Father, right? You fear him because he is, all right? Okay, he's a powerful God. Okay, like it says, when thou art poor. All right, so when you're in, a state or a condition of being in poverty, right? Like right now, shoot, you may not have no money, you may be broke, man. You know what I mean? You may be like, damn, man, God, why is this happening? You may want to start questioning the Most High, man, questioning your faith. Well, don't do that. Don't distrust, you know what I'm saying? Or distrust not the fear of the Lord. All right. Don't distrust that within yourself. Okay. Just because you're in a position of poverty. All right. Because remember what the scripture says. It is an easy thing for the Most High to make a rich man poor and a poor man rich. That's nothing to the Most High. He can give us infinite wisdom and understanding. All right. He can do all of that. Yeah, I don't know why she did that anyway. So he can give us, he can give us infinite riches if he so desired to. All right. And he says, and come not unto him with a double heart. Okay. So we cannot come to the Most High, man, being double in mind, right? Which goes back to the book, of James. All right. Let's go there real quick. James chapter 1. Let's read it. Book of James. Chapter 1. And we're going to pick it up at verse 6. All right. So it says, but let him ask in faith. I'm sorry. Let me drop down. In verse 8, he says, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. All right. So a man that is double-minded. Okay, let's look that scripture up real quick. Let's break it down. He said, "A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways." Hold on one second. A double-minded man. That's Jude. That's John. First John. Second John. Hold on one second. Let me pull it up. All right. I just went to James chapter 1, and I'm at verse 8.
James chapter 1. What verse did you start at?
I started at verse 8. Yeah, I wanted verse 8. But basically, you know what I'm saying? When he talks about being double-minded, right? He's talking about a man that's uncertain. Okay? Uncertain. Let's see what he means. Unstable in all his ways. All right. He's unstable and inconsistent. Yep. So inconsistent. All right. Unstable, inconsistent. Let's look up unstable in the dictionary.
Okay, don't squeeze it. Let it go. Let it go.
Mommy?
What?
And it says,
No, you're not going to do
so now it says unstable, likely to change, not emotionally or mentally healthy, not held in a secure position, likely to move or fall. You see that? So that's what happens to a man that is double-minded when he's uncertain, right? And he's unstable in all his ways, right? So that type of man is going to fall, right? Because he basically distrusts in the Lord. Okay. So now it says, here you go. Let's look at the full definition. It says not stable, not firm or fixed, not constant. Okay. Let me go back. He just threw me off. So yeah, it says not constant. Now I'm gonna go slow on me now. So you got that right. So make sure you write down double-minded, right, and unstable. Okay, so those are the two key words that you definitely want to look at. All right, looking at this actual verse. Okay, so now remember, Reuben was like that. All right, he was he was double-minded. He was unstable. All right, so now let's go back to the book of Sirach. Sirach or Ecclesiasticus chapter 1, yes. So like it says here, he says, distrust not the fear of the Lord when thou art poor. So, like I said, don't distrust in the fear that you have for the Most High, right? Because you are in a state of poverty. All right, you know what I mean, or being poor in spirit. You know, so don't distrust. You know what I'm saying? Your fear in the Lord. All right, and he says, that's why he says, and come not unto him with a double heart. Right. So don't be uncertain when you talk to the Most High. Right. You know what I mean? And basically, and don't be one of them wishy-washy servants. Okay, don't be that way. All right, especially when you come to the Most High. So that's what the scripture talking about. All right, just like it says, a double-minded man is unstable in all his way. All right, so basically, double-hearted mean basically is double-minded. Being one who's double-minded, you're uncertain. Don't come to the Most High, man, and you're not certain that He is. You know, and he's the and he's and that you feel like, oh, he's not gonna to diligently reward you. All right, so even in our prayers, man, we have to be sure that the Most High is going to do as He promises. All right. So now it says, yeah, so that was it. So now, so that's why, make sure that, what I'm saying, when you talk to the Most High, be sure what you telling them, man. If you want wisdom, you got to keep the commandments, okay? And the Most High will give you wisdom, all right? So make sure that learning, what I'm saying, the instructions of the Most High, man, is one of your top priorities, all right? Especially dealing in this life, okay? So now let's stay in the Apocrypha and let's stay in Sirach or Ecclesiasticus. Let's go to chapter 25. Let's get verse 12. Ecclesiasticus chapter 25 and verse 12. And it says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love, and faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him. You see that? So the fear which you have for the Most High, right, is the beginning of his love. All right, because the Most High knows that you fear him, right? Then guess what? If you fear the Most High, that means you're going to be in his favor. Okay, you're going to, basically he's going to love you, right? So remember, Abraham feared the Lord. That's why he did what? That's why he was about to give his only son, you see what I'm saying, as an offering unto the Most High, right? Before the angel of the Lord stopped him. All right, so he was ready. So then, and there are many other examples, man, of those that fear the Lord. All right. Why? Because they do what the Lord said. Job, he did what? He feared the Lord. All right. Because he didn't sit there and curse God and die. All right. Just because his wife said, why don't you just curse God and die? He was like, no, you sounded like one of them foolish women, man. I'm not about to sit there and curse the Most High. You know what I mean? Shall man receive only good from the Lord and not evil? So this is what Job had to let his wife know. This is, and then all his friends and his companions, man, sat there and was accusing him of doing something evil or some sort of sin. It's like, no, it can't be. You know what I mean? You can't be receiving all of this evil and you didn't do something wrong. So that's why, man, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love. You fear the Most High. Remember, you're going to be in his favor. All right. He's going to love you. Okay. If you fear him, that's one of the most important things, man. All right. So now let's read it again from the top. So he says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love, and faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him. All right. So now it even shows you right there. And faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him. So when you're dealing with faith, let's look up the word faith. All right, write down faith. Let's look up faith in the dictionary. So we're in the book of Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha. We're in chapter 25, and I just read verse 12. So let's check this out. Faith. So now it says faith, strong belief or trust in someone or something, right? Belief in the existence of God, strong religious feeling or beliefs, a system of religious belief. All right, now check this out. So this is the full definition right here. It says allegiance to duty or to a person, loyalty. All right, fealty to one who promises sincerity of intentions, right? Belief, this is definition number 2, sorry. Belief and trust in and loyalty to God. Belief in traditional doctrine, blah, blah, blah. But so basically, belief and trust in and loyalty to God. All right. Fealty. Okay. Loyalty, allegiance. All right. So now, it gives you a better understanding. It shows you, man, what it talks about when it says faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him, unto cleaving to the Most High, right? Your absolute, belief and trust in the Most High, that's the beginning of you cleaving unto him, okay? And the scriptures make that very plain and clear. You gotta, you gotta trust in the Father. I'm gonna give you the prime example of that right now. Let's go to the book of Daniel. Let's go to the book of Daniel. I'm gonna show you what true trust, all right, absolute and complete trust is in the Most High and what it's talking about. Y'all gonna be like, wow, really? Yep. And you're gonna see that this is one of the first times that the Son of Man manifested himself. All right. So now it says here. I'm just gonna read. I'm gonna start in chapter 3, and I'm gonna start at verse 23, or actually verse 20. We'll start at verse 20. All right. So Daniel chapter 3 and verse 20. So now it says, and he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the fiery furnace, right? So now check this out. Yeah, the fiery furnace, son. Now check this out. Check this out. All right, so basically it was basically like a big old oven, son, and it's like just flames. Like when we was out there cooking the meat and stuff, just imagine those flames, but it's a big old room and it's just nothing but just fire. All right. So he had a giant furnace. Okay. He says, so now let's read verse 20 again. Check this out. He says, he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Right. So he had to take some of his mightiest warriors, some of his coldest fighters, right, in his army, right, to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right? So, look, don't it take 20 police officers to take down one Negro today? Mm-hmm. So he said he had to get his best, you see, just to put Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who were Israelites, in chains, all right, and just to throw them in the furnace that was burning. Verse 21. Then these men were bound in their coats and their hosen meaning their pants, and their hats and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Look at that. So they threw them in there alive. All right. He says, therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent and the furnace was exceedingly hot, the flames of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. All right. Wait a minute. Let me back up. I'm sorry, guys. Let me back up. I was jumping ahead of myself. Let's read when they prayed to the Most High. Here we go. So they didn't want to bow down and worship the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up, right? So remember, whenever the music came on, what did everybody have to do? They had to bow down to the statue. That was Nebuchadnezzar's commandment. But then you saw that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they did not bow down, you know what I'm saying, when that music played. All right. And Nebuchadnezzar was angry about it. All right. So now let's read verse 4. Let's start at chapter 3 and let's read verse 14. Or actually verse 13. And it says, Then Nebuchadnezzar in his rage and fury commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Now, if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and duclumer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that God? Who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? Right? So he being prideful at this time. He's like, who's the God that's going to deliver you out of my hands? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar, full of fury, so what they told Nebuchadnezzar, he was in a full rage. We talking about furious, all right? And remember, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they weren't like low-ranking Israelites, all right? They were like up under Daniel in the affairs of the kingdom. Daniel was like the top president, you know what I'm saying, in Babylon, right? And then you see that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were basically, they were up under Daniel. All right.
It was like Joseph.
So they basically they were like visors themselves. All right. So they said, we're not serving your gods, nor are we serving the golden image. All right. So they said that's why I said we are not careful to answer this to thee in this matter. You know what I mean? So they weren't gonna speak soft and peaceably about it. All right. Somebody else, his scribes and his magi and all that, they probably would have been like, they probably would have answered them all, yes, king, we'll bow down. You know what I mean? But no, they said, no, we're not bowing down. All right. So that's why, I remember it was the big controversy about, the Pledge of Allegiance and the American flag and all that, or the national anthem. The national anthem comes on, right? You see everybody, they ask you to please rise and stand and put your right hand over your heart, you know what I'm saying, and all that stuff. We like, no, we're not worshiping the God of America. You know what I mean? We're not pledge allegiance. We're not pledge allegiance or nothing. We're not, giving honor to this place whatsoever. All right. So we don't care about the glory of America. Okay. And you see a lot of people that been arrested. You see Colin Kaepernick Colin Kaepernick basically got banned from the NFL for not standing during the pledge, during the national anthem. You know what I mean? And I think, when I read about the history of the national anthem, it had nothing to do with us. You know what I mean? But we were the main ones fighting.
Yep.
Right? To keep that damn flag up. All right, in the midst of the hell and the gunfire and all that stuff, man, and the bombs that were being dropped on that fort. Okay. we'll go over that history. We'll go over that little piece of American history, and we'll dissect it, at another time. But it was interesting, to know that it was actually black soldiers, man, that were the ones that was really putting in the work, to uphold this place. And it's sad, man. So now it says, verse 19 again. It says, "Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He says, therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times more than it want to be heated." So he wanted to heat it 7 times more. So 7 times hotter than it should have originally been, than it was originally heated. Okay. So now let's drop down. All right. So we read verse 20. All right. So he cast them in there. All right. And everything that they had, they closed everything. And so now let's read down. Let's drop down and read verse 24. And it says, "And Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished and rose up in haste and spake and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast 3 men bound into the midst of the fire?" So he said, "Do not we cast 3 men in there?" Right? "And they answered and said unto the king, True, O king." He answered and said, "Lo, I see 4 men loosened walking in the midst of the fire, and they had no hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of Man." You see that? So it says, so now it said that Christ came down personally, right, and delivered Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right? Or Hananiah, Azariah, I believe, and Mishael. Okay, he delivered them. So remember, they was like, hey, if the Lord is going to be the one to deliver us, okay? Because Nebuchadnezzar was like, he said it in pride, like, who going to deliver you out of my hand? And they said, the Lord is going to deliver us. So you see that they had their absolute and complete trust and allegiance to the Most High, man. They said, we not bowing down to your gods. Our God is going to deliver us. But if not, hey, it is what it is. That was their mindset. So they knew that they were going to be all right either way. Okay. So then it says, then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire. All right. So they came out of there. You see that? They came out of the midst of the fiery furnace. And the princes and governors and captains and the king's counselors began being gathered together, saw these men upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was their hair of their head singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of fire had passed on them. That's how protected they were in that furnace. You see that? It said they had nothing on them, not a smell, not even
nothing on them got burned.
Nothing on them got burned. All right, not even a piece of singed coat. All right. So it says, then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So now you see he's giving praise to the Most High now. You see that? That's what he said. Blessed be the God, right, of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. We know his name is Yahweh, right? He is the self-existing one, all eternal one. All right. So he says, who hath sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him. You see that? That delivered his servants that did what? That trusted in him. He says, and have changed the king's word and yielded their bodies that they might not serve nor worship any God except their own God. Look at that. Yep. So now he was like, Nebuchadnezzar was so astonished, right? You know what I mean? He didn't say, I'm going to convert and be a follower of the Most High, but he was like, you know what? You guys you can worship your God. You don't have to worship the gods here. You worship your God the way you want to worship him. All right. So then he says this, check this out. Therefore, I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other God that can deliver after this sort.
Oh.
You see that? So he
So
said,
speak against the Most High.
he said,
Dead.
yeah, exactly.
And ain't nobody
That's
gonna
what he.
save you
That's what he
from
laid
them.
down. Yeah, that's what he laid down. He's like, man, he's like, this is it. This is the God of the Hebrews right here. All right. He said, man, if anybody say anything against them, I'm gonna cut you up. All right, and then I'm gonna turn your house into a dookie pile. All right. And he said because there's no look. He said no other God that can deliver after this sort. All right. Then the king promoted, look, listen up. It says, then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. Look at that. So he gave them higher ranks now within the kingdom, man, because of the God of Israel, right? And also our king, okay? Yahweh Shah Mashiach came to deliver them.
That goes back to second Ecclesiastes chapter 2, where it talks about did any ever trust in the Most High was forsaken?
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Did any ever pray to the Most High and was discouraged?
Right.
You know?
We're going to get that too. Yeah, we're going to get that too. We're going to get that too, man. So that's why, when we go back to when we go back to Sirach 25, right? It's going to show you, man, that, nobody that trusted in the Lord was forsaken. All right. Or faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him. All right. We've seen that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right? They clave unto the Most High, right? And they were not forsaken. Okay. So you see the Most High had to, he showed his power, man, before Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and, basically made him look like a fool. Why? Because he said, who can deliver out of my hand? Remember, the Most High is the one who put Nebuchadnezzar in power. All right. And you see that he was taken out, or his descendants were taken out of power by the Persians and Medes. We'll get a lot of that history, later on in the year. But anyways, so now let's go stay in Ecclesiasticus, right? Let's go to chapter 2. Let's go to chapter 2. Chapter 2, it says, and we'll start at verse 1. Now check this out. And it says, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. All right. So, coming into serving the Lord, you got to understand, man, that you're going to go through a lot of diverse temptations. You're going to go through a lot of temptations, man. That's really going to challenge your character. All right. Because you can be like, man, I'm a good person. I have a good nature, good disposition, man. But damn, why is there so many evil people around me? I'm like, damn, I treat everybody the way I want to be treated. But at the same time, ain't nobody treating me the same way. You going through those temptations, right? Losing loved ones, all of that stuff, man. So the temptations, man, they come along with, serving the Heavenly Father, right? Because remember, he tests our character. Okay. He tests us on all levels, man. So remember, just like Christ had to be tested, remember, we're tested in the same way, the same manner. All right. So was not Christ rejected? You know what I mean? Was he not beaten? Was he not, persecuted? Did not his own people, you know what I'm saying, that he died for, spit on him, call him a liar? Yeah, all of that stuff, man. You can go to the New Testament right now, man. Open it up. Read about the whole Passover history, like we read about, right? What happened? His disciples, the one that said that they loved him, even the one that said, man, I love you the most, Christ. He basically abandoned him, right? He said, I don't know that man. When he was confronted, like, hey, wasn't you one of them? He said, I don't know him. I don't know who he is. right? He was forsaken. All his disciples had scattered. You know what I mean? You see that he was slandered, right? He was said that, oh, look, he says he basically he's calling himself God. You see what I'm saying? That's the charges of blasphemy that they wanted to bring him up on. All right. You see what I'm saying? So, then guess what? He got beat. He was beaten by his own people, right? The Pharisees, right? They beat him, spit on him. Then you had the Romans, the Edomites, right? The whites. They was sitting there, they bullwhipped him damn near half to death. Made him carry a big old piece of wood, man, up a mountain. All right. And nailed him to it. You know. Now you tell me that ain't temptation. That's why I call it the hour of temptation. That was his temptation. Yeah. Right. That's real, man. So Christ understood that, man, and Christ showed us, man, that we can overcome that. All right. If you can overcome death, you overcame the most ultimate form of humility and sacrifice, man, that there is. That's why Christ said what? He said, "There's no greater love than a man lay down his life for his friend." You see that? Just like if I was to sit there, you know what I mean? Me and Trevor, right? We out in the street, right? And then like these dudes are confronting us, right? One pull out a shotgun, man, and he blast. I push Trevor out the way. I take the bullet for him. Bam. You know, that shows like, damn, I love that man enough to where I take a bullet for him. See what I'm saying? I laid down my life, for him so that he could live. All right. There's no greater love than that. You see that? There's no greater love than that. You know. So now it says, let's read verse 2. Let's read verse 1 again. So it says, "My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation, set thy heart aright, and consistently endure, and make not haste in time of trouble." Right? So you set your heart aright. You get yourself right. Okay? And it says, and you consistently endure, man. So every time that you do go through something, right, you do go through those trials, right? You got to make sure that you get yourself back on track. All right, get yourself right. And then what? Then you have to endure, always, constantly endure, man. Whatever it is that come upon you, okay. And then when that stuff come upon you, man, don't make haste in the time of trouble. In the time of your trouble, you got to do what? You got to go to the Most High and ask Him to do what? To deliver you out of that trouble. You see that? Now, what's a good piece of the history to go back to revert to, right? You see that our fathers, yeah, right. The history of Susanna, Judith, yeah, history of Susanna, Judith. You see, those are some good examples, man, to bring out. That's just showing how sisters, man, trusted the Most High. All right, in that time of trouble, we saw what Susanna was being accused of adultery, right? And she was about to be burned to death. Okay, but she basically she cried unto the Most High. And what happened? The Most High raised the spirit of Daniel up to investigate the situation. All right, and she got delivered. Okay, so now so she didn't make haste in the time of her trouble, right? You know what I'm saying? So it says, "Cleave unto him," in verse 3, "cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end." Okay. So now, so again, going back to verse 2, then I get to verse 3, right? So he says, "Set thy heart aright and consistently endure, and make not haste in time of trouble." Right? So what happened? So remember, what happened with Manasseh? You know what I'm saying? Manasseh, the evil king, all right, of Judah. You see that he had to set his heart aright, all right, with the Most High, okay, before the Most High delivered him in his time of trouble, all right. So then I could even say for myself, man, shoot, man, I'm like, it's times, man, where I had to get my mind right And I'm going through a whole lot of stuff, man. Being tired, being frustrated from work. You know what I'm saying? Coming home, everything out of order, and it's just like, all right, man, damn. Why is all of this happening? But that means I'm like, just for me to stay on track, I had to do what? Get my mind right, okay? And I had to constantly endure, man. All of the frustrations that come upon me, right? So then when I'm in, and in the time of my trouble, what do? I have to go to the Most High and pray for that patience, pray for that understanding, man, to be, to get through it. All right. And then the most important thing, like I said in verse 3, it says, cleave unto him. All right. And what? And depart not away. So that means that I just leave off trusting in my trust in the Most High, and just think I can handle the situation by myself. You know what I mean? That's not the way to handle it, man. I got to make sure that my whole loyalty and faith is in who is in the Most High. All right. He says, and that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. All right. So then he says, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take it cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. All right. So now whatever is brought upon me, right? Whatever, calamity come on you, that, it's like they just throw, like it just may throw you for a loop. You're like, damn, why did this happen? You may want to like sit here and give up. You're like, nah, man. Whatever happens to you, you gotta take it cheerfully. All right? Take it cheerfully. Okay? Don't let it mess you up in the head. Don't let it cause you to lose faith in the Most High. He may be putting you through something, man, to make you stronger. You know what I mean? Or setting you up and putting you in a situation, man, to where you can gain something from it. All right? So he says, and be patient when thou art changed to a lower state. He says, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. You see that? So remember, he said, gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of what? Adversity. Let's look at what adversity is. Let's look at what adversity is. We know a lot of our fathers, man, they had, situations, man, where, man, they faced a lot of adversity.
Oh, Daddy. Daddy.
Let's look at adversity.
Mommy, I want a banana. Banana?
Hold on 1 second.
Banana. Me. I love more banana.
So let me change phone. This phone ain't even acting right. So adversity. ADVRSCT. SITY. So it says a state of instant, a state or instant of serious or continual difficulty, right? Or misfortune. See that? So it said continual difficulty or misfortune. All right. So I'm like, man, I be sitting here, and this is one of this. I be going through this, man. You know. So I'm like, man, I know the Lord is trying me, man. Because I'm like, it's like, you know, He's like, I know the scriptures say, it says that a man is going to be more precious than gold in these last days, right? Then I'm like, shoot, I know I'm gold. I know I'm like fine gold to the Most High, right? But I have to go through that period of being purified. You know what I mean? Gold has to be purified. That's why they put it through the fire. You know what I mean? To get all of the impurities out, right? Shine up real smooth. You can melt or mold gold into a good brick, and and it's made new, right? So then it says, that's why it says acceptable men in the furnace of adversity, right? So again, the definition for adversity here, it says a state or instance of serious or continual difficulty or misfortune, or in other words, when we say bad things that always happening, always happen to, misfortunes. So Most High may just want to see, man, how you take those misfortunes,
Yeah,
right?
you're gonna turn to him or turn
Perfect
to him.
example, Job. Again, you know, look at all the misfortune that he went, lost everything, right? His economic wealth, lost his wife, you know what I'm saying, lost his children, you know, lost his friends, you know, lost his health. You see what I'm saying? Was disfigured. Yeah, you know. But you see that his faith and his love in the Most High, man, was one of the strongest things. All right. And then you see at the end, the Most High did what? Increased him, and he lived over 100, and he lived over 100 plus years, right? And he had the most beautifulest daughters in all the land. You see that?
All you have to do was not say, Lord, why me?
Right. And you know, he basically trusts in the Most High, man. But he went through continual misfortunes. All right. But he did not give up on the Most High. All right. So that's a powerful thing, man. So many of us, man, we be sitting here ready to curse God and die, man, for just the little things that we go through, you know. But if when we read the scriptures, man, our fathers went through some calamities, man. They went through some calamities. You know what I mean? They went through some things, and they still had their love and faith towards the Most High. Another example of that, the woman and her 7 sons. When you read in the book of Second Maccabees, right? She watched every single last one of her sons die. Every single last one died. Be cannibalized by Greeks. But yet, you know, she was proud of them. Why? Because they trusted in the Lord enough to do what? To stay strong. Okay? They stayed strong in the Lord and they didn't give up. So now he says, believe in him, verse 6. Believe in him and he will help thee. Order thy way aright and trust in him. You see that? So believe in him. All right. And he says, and he will help thee. Order thy way aright and trust in him. All right. So you have your belief in the Most High. Guess what? You know what I'm saying? He's going to be the one to help you. So you had, like we just read with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. What happened? They believed in the Most High, and guess what? He helped them. Okay. So now for us, man, shoot, you know, the things that we go through, like, yeah, you know, we got to believe in the Most High that he's going to do it. He's going to do what he has to do. Right? Yeah, I'm like, shoot, plenty of times, man, where shoot, we ain't had the money for nothing, and you know, we like, damn, how we gonna do this? And then what happened? The Most High sit there and help us. You know, Most High sit there and you know, he look out for us. He'll put the spirit on somebody to you know, to help us out. You know, that's how you like know, man. Like, yeah, man, the Most High trying to show you, like, look, don't trip, man. All you gotta do is do what I tell you to do. Have faith in me continually. All right. The Most High always looked out. All right. Just
just so they can bless us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Bless someone else just so he blessed us, right? Your sister, she had what? Won like $500, $400, and shoot.
All we was asking for was $50.
Yeah, she get, and, you know, she helped us out with some money, man. You know. So even then, man, shoot, you see, this nice. We didn't have no TV, man. We wanted how I'm gonna get the presentations and all this stuff, and you know, and then what? My brother Trevor, man, came by. He like, look, I got something for you. Bam, brought this big screen TV over here, man. Blessings, man. You know, and we didn't need no huge one. He's like, hey, here. You know what I mean?
Even when it comes to diapers,
so yeah. So the Most High, man, has Most High help us out, man. You know, he's answered prayers, man. I'm like, you know, even, you know, like when me and brother Trevor be talking, man, he's like, man, you know, he's like, man, you got the gift, man. You know, I'm like, we could be talking about something, next thing you know, it just manifests. You know, we could be talking about, damn, you know what? We want to go back. Let's go back to the mental health facility, man. You know, then we end up working there. Oh man, you know what? I need to be working at LAX. I heard they got the benefits, all this stuff. Bam, ended up working there. You know, and it's like the Most High, man, bless the brother with all of those things, man. Shoot, it may not have been when I wanted it, you know. But shoot, in due time, man, he did give it to me. All right. So, you know, it's all a test of character anyway, you know, for the testimony. You know, other brothers that go through things like that. I can tell anybody, man, I done been through it all myself, you know. So now it says, verse 7, and ye that fear the Lord, wait for his mercy, and go not aside, lest ye fall. You see that? So that's why I said, ye that fear the Lord, wait for his mercy. All right. So we the ones who fear the Most High, man. So we're waiting for his mercy. All right. When we pray to the Lord, we waiting for him to show us mercy. All right. And whatever we ask for, you know, and whatever we need. All right. He says, and go not aside, lest ye fall. Right. So that means, you know, you no longer believe, or you try to do things your own way. Right. Next thing you know, you end up failing. Okay. That's why he said, and then he says, ye that fear the Lord, hope for good and for everlasting joy and mercy. Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was confounded, or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken, or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? He said, no. I'm like, sure, I can't read nobody, man, that called upon the Lord and you know, the Lord despised them. If they were righteous, you know what I mean? The righteous, their prayers got answered, man. But the wicked, the ones who were wicked, no, they didn't get their prayers answered. You see that? You know, they didn't get their prayers answered. You know, that's why the Lord said, man, in the book of Proverbs, 28, you know what I'm saying? He says, he that turneth his ear away from hearing the law, even his prayers is an abomination. Yeah, you know. But you know, he hears the righteous. All right. So then you know, he's heard the man. I'm telling you, man, it's powerful, man. It's powerful, man. You know, and you know, brother Trevor be my witness, man. Many of the things we talk about it. We talk about in secret, man. It's like, you know, the Most High just, you know, Most High, he just manifested it before us. You know what I'm saying? Manifested it before me, all of that. You know, look, check this out. Prime example, right? Once I'm not sitting here talking about a van, right? I'm like, Lord, I need a van. Lord, I need a van. I need a van, man. We got a family, man. It's too big. You know, Lord, I need a van, right? Then what happened? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I applied for an ad maybe like 4 weeks, you know what I'm saying, before I ended up getting the van that we got, right? Same ad, brother answered it and said, hey, I got a van available. You know what I mean? You still interested in buying it? I'm like, whoa. I said, scratching my head, like, whoa. Yeah, for real. And then the one that I got now, the Acura, man, like, yo, you know, brother Rayak, man, you know, ended up hooking me up with the Acura completely for free. He just gave it to me, right? It's a lot of work got to be put into it, man. But he gave it to me. You know what I mean? The Most High, man, shoot, you know, he man, he straight up blesses, man, straight up, man. You know, so I mean, I'm still waiting for some other things to fall in place, man. That I pray he blesses with, man. But at the same time, man, you know, it's like these are some powerful verses, man, that we read. You know, like I said, verse 10, like you said, look at the generations of old and see, did ever any that trust in the Lord and was confounded, or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken, or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? I'm like, I can't read about the righteous that called upon the name of the Most High, man, and was despised in his sight at all. All right. So he says, for the Lord is full of compassion and mercy, long suffering and very pitiful, and forgiveth sins. You see that? So it says the Most High is full of compassion. So it just shows you, man, just how loving the Most High is, man, towards his people. just how compassionate he can be towards, towards us, right? He says merciful, long suffering. You see that? Even though we do wicked stuff, man, even the Lord still gives us a chance to do what? To repent and get right. You see that? He still gives us a chance to correct ourselves. You know what I mean? That shows you, man, just how much love the Most High has for us. All right. Just how much Lord he took, man. Remember, our fathers, man, they were in bitter and hard bondage here in America. You see that? You see, like serving out the sentence, man, for the sins of the fathers. You see, you know what I mean? So it's like, so say for instance, man, getting bullwhipped, pulled apart, thrown in the Atlantic Ocean, and those who survived here had to deal with being, babies being taken away, lynched, babies being made gator bait, being turned into handbags, trying to run for their life. All of those things, man, look, that's what our fathers were going through, right? But now look at the generations after that. The Most High didn't show his mercy, and look, now we sitting here, we literally don't have to worry about a lot of this stuff, man, but it's still hitting in mass here in America. They just have policies where they do it now. You know what I mean? Where they go by their laws outside of, how a white man can just come up to you, blow your brains out, and walk off. Like it's no problem. Another white man just laugh like, oh, hey, Bill. Blew that nigger head off right there. Yep, he's gonna stink. You see what I'm saying? It's cold, man. But now they just do it slickly, right? They just got badges that they can hide behind, and blow a black man head off, and still get paid vacation. All right. So, so man, it's like you said, man, the Most High, he basically gave us, some grace in this captivity that we in. Let's go to the book of Ezra. Let's go to Ezra real quick. Yeah, we still come back to chapter 2.
Ezra in the Bible?
Yes, Ezra in the Bible. Not Ezra-S, but Ezra.
No, sit in the chair.
Ezra chapter 9, and we're going to start at verse 8. Chapter 9 and verse 8. Check this out. And now for a little space, grace has been shown from Yahweh our power to leave us a remnant to escape and to give us a nail in his holy place. You see that? That our power may lighten our eyes and give us a little reviving in our bondage. You know what I mean? So what it's showing you is what? That the Lord basically lightened our affliction in this captivity, right? You see that the bondage that we going through now is not as bitter or as hard as it was, you know what I'm saying, almost 400 years ago. You see that? Almost 400 years ago when our fathers were being brought over here on cargo slave ships. All right. Though we're still being afflicted, though we're still being oppressed, though we still are in captivity, you know what I mean? It's not as heavy as it was back then. All right. Now the Lord, he's given us the opportunity to come back to the scriptures and learn and receive understanding, receive of the Holy Spirit, all of that. Our families are still intact. You know what I mean? We're not being basically divided up, man. Our hands ain't being cut off for reading the Bible. All right. Or professing ourselves to be Israelites. Okay. So that's what so that's what the Lord has done, man. And remember, he did this for the Israelites, right, during the Persian and Mede captivity, okay? He lightened their affliction. They were able to return to the land of Israel and rebuild the temple that was at Jerusalem. All right? You see that even the Most High set up, I'm talking about, he set up Mordecai, he set up Esther to be queen. You know what I mean? Mordecai became the advisor to Ahasuerus. You know what I mean? And do you not understand like how even with Purim, when we celebrate Purim, right? It celebrates the deliverance of our people, man, from being exterminated. The Most High, man, he lightens the affliction.
It could still be just
Though yeah, though we're still in captivity to the Persians, it wasn't as bad as it was under the Babylonians or the Assyrians. You see that where we were being completely just killed and left out in the streets and stuff. Then it got bad again during the time of the Greeks. Then it lightened up again. You know what I mean? The Most High, man. Then it got bad again. You know, tomorrow I'm going into the history, into a lot of the Christian history, right? The early church history. I have a part on there where it's going to show you about how our fathers were being afflicted. You know, and that 315 years later, they were able to receive they were able to be able to worship the Most High and not be afflicted. You see that? They call it the Edict of Milan, or something like that. You know, where basically Constantine and I guess it's like another co-ruler named Lucius, right? They basically decreed that Christians were able to to serve the Most High, right, and not face persecution. You see that? So he always is lighting our affliction. Okay. At certain times we go through heavy persecution 1 minute, then he lightens our affliction. Well, guess what? We're gonna go through a heavy persecution in this age, right? And then guess what? After that, we get eternal peace. You see what I'm saying?
But I thought that was during the time of the slave trade.
No, you're gonna go through it again. You see what I said? Our fathers had got a small space under the Persians and Medes, right? And then guess what? When the Greeks came in, we got persecuted again under who? Antiochus. All right, Epiphanes. That's why you see we do what? We celebrate Feast of Dedication, the destruction of Nicanor, the Feast of Purim. You know what I mean? Those are all feasts, man, celebrating our deliverance and the rededication, man, and us receiving some sort of lightening of the affliction that we were under.
Yeah, dedication for sure.
All right. So now let's read on. Now check this out, verse 9. For we were bondmen, yet our power hath not forsaken us in our bondage, but hath extended mercy unto us in the sight of the kings of Persia, to give us a reviving, to set up the house of our power, and to repair the desolation thereof, and to give us a wall in Judah and in Jerusalem. You see that? So it just showed you right there, man, that the Lord gave us a revive. He allowed us, he basically gave us a reviving in our captivity. All right. He took up a lot of the affliction up off of us. All right. To where we were able to move, where we were able to regroup, regather, you know what I mean? Learn the commandments, all right? Keep the feast days once again without being burdened by the other nations, all right? As much. So now let's go back. So now it says in Ecclesiasticus chapter 2 and verse 11 again. For the Lord is full of compassion and mercy, long suffering and very pitiful, and forgiveth sins and saveth in time of affliction. Woe be to the fearful hearts and faint hands, and the sinner that goeth two ways. You see that? So you said, woe be unto that person, right? To the sinner that go two ways. Woe unto him that is faint-hearted, for he believeth not. Therefore shall he not be defended. So when you talk about the fearful heart, right? Let's go to the book of Revelations. Let's go to Revelations chapter 21. I think the fearful heart has a lot to do with disbelief. When you don't believe, right? And then when you know what I'm saying, in the center they go two ways, right? Meaning you 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You know what I mean? You're not you're not 10 toes down, with the Father. Revelation chapter 21. And excuse me. And I'm gonna start at verse 8. But it says, but the fearful, let's look at what it means by fearful. Excuse me. Let's look at what it means by fearful. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. Say verse 8. Yeah, verse 8. So here we go. When it says fearful, it means faithless. Faithless. All right. Faithless. Timid. All right. Yeah. So we said, but the fearful, right? He said unbelieving, meaning he says, so basically it means, faithless again, or, you have no trust in the Most High, right? Faithless. He says the abominable and murderers and whoremongers, sorcerers and idolaters, all liars, shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death, right? So that's the death of your spirit, your soul. All right. I showed you right there. That's it. Okay. So that's why he said that's why he says, woe be unto the fearful hearts and the faint hands and the sinner that goeth 2 ways. All right. So let's see what he means by faint hands. Okay. Hey, come on. Oops. See what he mean by faint hands. Hold on 1 second. I'm looking up the Strong's number. That's one. Kind of.
You want it?
I mean, I got it. I just gotta get it. Get this thing to move faster.
I'm not smiling. You need to calm down.
So it's Hebrews 12:3. Excuse me.
Hebrews 12:3.
Hold on. So basically, it means weak, or someone who's weakened. You know what I mean? Or what's the scripture that it says? Be not weary of well doing, right? Being faint. You see what I'm saying? So he's talking about faint hands. All right, being weary of well doing. Okay. Let me see. Let me read this. When it's that's dealing with the woman. Never mind. So I was gonna pull that precept that I just had got, but anyways. So as it says again, so woe be to the fearful hearts, meaning those who are basically unbelievers who have no trust in the Most High, and faint hands is weary of well doing, and the sinners that go two ways, meaning you one foot in, one foot out. You basically like you're lukewarm, like Christ says. So he's like, I'm gonna spew you out because you're neither hot or cold. All right. So those that want to dabble in the world and then try to be in the truth or whatever, like Christ said, you can't serve two masters. You're gonna love one, you're gonna hate the other. All right. So if you're not all in for the Most High, then hey, you ain't in for him at all. All right. So then he says, verse 13, woe unto him that is faint hearted. Right. So faint hearted. All right. Weak. He says, for he believeth not. Therefore, he shall not be defended. So, for those who are weak hearted, he said they're not going to be defended at the end. All right. He says, woe unto you that have lost patience, and what will ye do when the Lord shall visit you? Okay. So he's like, if you done lost patience, man, what you gonna do when the Lord visits you? When you lose patience, meaning that you just give up. You give up. You no longer in the truth. You're like, damn, I can't do this no more. You know, I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to teach. I don't want to do nothing, man. I don't want to serve the Most High. I'm gonna just live my life and that's it. Like, no. He says, woe, woe. You know what woe means? Woe, it means destruction. Destruction unto you that have lost patience. And what will ye do when the Lord shall visit you? So what you gonna do when the Most High visits you? All right, and that's not a good thing when the Most High visits you for evil. Okay. Yeah, exactly. He's coming. He's coming to claim to claim your soul. All right. So it says, verse 15. He says, "They that fear the Lord will not disobey His word." His what? His word. So those that fear the Lord will not disobey His word, and they that love Him will keep His ways. All right. So you love the Most High will keep His ways, and they that fear the Lord will seek that which is well pleasing unto Him. So we gonna be searching, man, ways to please the Most High, man. You know what I mean? We're not gonna sit on our hands and feet. That's why we got to get back to doing what? Doing what pleases the Lord, right? Spreading His truth. You know what I mean? Getting out the information that's needed to our people. All right. you know, brothers and sisters gonna know, man, what's right information and what's garbage. All right. So they're gonna, you know what I mean? So it's like, the Most High put the spirit on them, okay, to be able to discern rightfully. All right. He says, they that fear the Lord will seek that which is well pleasing unto Him, and they that love Him shall be filled with the law. All right. He says, they that fear the Lord will prepare their hearts and humble their souls in His sight. So you're gonna humble yourself, okay? You're gonna prepare yourself like you're in the presence of a king. You ever seen those movies where you see what? You see the servant come to the king and they prostrate themselves and they just like they look down and they humble themselves because this is a mighty man that they standing before. Get that off your head, son. That it's a mighty man that they standing before. It's the same way we have to approach the Most High, right? The humility, okay? He says, verse 18, saying, we will fall into the hands of the Lord and not into the hands of men. For as His majesty is, so is His mercy. So we looking for, excuse me. So we looking for the mercy of the Most High. All right. We looking for His grace. Okay. Because just as it said, man, shoot, it's like, yo, We rather fall into the hands of the Lord. All right. For just as his majesty is, so is his mercy. All right. So we gonna get, so we want to receive, what I'm saying, the mercy of the most high. All right. That's what we want to receive, his mercy. Okay. So just like David, what did David say? All right. To the prophet, when the most high gave him those three options, he's like, you know what? Let the most high be the one to decide, man, because he's merciful, you know. Remember that when he said either you choose famine,
Your enemies
choose
put on your
pestilence,
life.
or you choose your enemies until they kill you. Your enemies are going to chase you till they kill you, right? So he's like, you know what, Lord, you be the one to decide that, all right? Because you're merciful, all right? So he's like, I'd rather fall into the hands of the Lord. That's what David said, okay? So that's why, we gotta understand, man. Shoot, the Most High is, we gotta make sure our allegiance is tight with Him, okay? We gotta make sure our allegiance is tight with Him, all right?
Most of your relationship is with the Most High, unless like you are in sin.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. So I mean, but it starts with the person, the individual. You know what I mean? Like, yo, if it's not working for that person, then it's not gonna work for everybody else. But it has to be that individual. You know what I'm saying? That basically, looks within himself and be like, you know what? I gotta get right with the Most High first. I gotta pray and put my trust in Him, my absolute and complete trust in Him. You know, So not worried about what man is doing, man, but basically get back to what the Most High wants me to do. All right. So now let's go to the book of Hebrews chapter 11. Hebrews chapter 11. Hebrews 11, and we'll start at verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. What does that mean, Ayla?
Faith is like air. You can't see it, but you know it's there, and you know you need it, but you can't touch it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, it's something that is believed to be there, even though you can't physically grab it or touch it.
Right. So here in the Hebrew it says, now it says faith is the confidence of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. What'd you say?
It's what you believe
Yeah, definitely. You know. So basically, you can't see.
in.
You can't see uh faith.
No.
It's something that you gotta have. You see what I'm saying? It's that confidence, like that you gotta have.
It's
Like that Most High, like you know what? I know the Most High gonna deliver me. I see 10,000 men before me, right? It's only 1,000 of us, but I know the Most High is gonna fight for us. I know the Most High is going to help me destroy our enemies, those that blaspheme His name. You know what? Let me send up my prayer and make sure. Remember, Judah. That's what Judas Maccabeus was known for. It said that he prayed like a saint and fought like a lion. You see what I'm saying? That still give me chills every time I say it to this day, man. He prayed like a saint and fought like a lion. All right. He girded his warlike horn. He put on his warlike horn, his harness, and basically he handled business for the Most High. All right. That's how cold. Yeah. But that before every battle, man, he said he prayed. Even those that fought and died for the Most High, man, he said he even seen it as a good gesture to be like, you know what, Father, forgive them. They fought for you. They fought for their people. You know what I mean? He wasn't praying to the dead. He was praying that the Most High have mercy on their soul, man, as they go into the next life. You know, because they did fight for him. All right. He said, but they found like little charms and idols and stuff on them. So that's probably why they died. But at the same time, man, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna still pray for him. because that's the type of man that Judas was. All right. So you don't hear about no kings, man, sitting there praying for their dead and all that stuff, or military leaders. I know damn for sure these American generals don't pray for the dead for their dead soldiers. They put their name on the wall and that's it. And then the rest of them, man, that are scarred from battle, they throw them on the streets, or make them police officers. You know what I mean? So now, so that's what faith is, okay? It's your confidence, man. You know what I'm saying? And your reliance in the Most High, man. Your allegiance towards Him, your belief in Him, and then Paul is gonna give like the examples of, you know, the faith of our fathers, man. Remember what it said in Romans chapter 15 and verse 4, right? The things that were written aforetime were what? For our learning. So he says, for by it the elders obtain a good report, right? Faith. He says, through faith we understand that the words were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. You see that? So everything that we see that was created, right, was made by the invisible, all right? The gods, the powers, right? Yahweh Shai, the holy angels, right? With the Most High at the head. He says, by faith, Abel offered to God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous. God testified of his gifts. You see that? And by it, he being dead, yet speaketh. All right. How does he speak? Right. His soul, remember, his soul cries out. Okay. The souls of the righteous cry out to the Most High. All right. So it says, by faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and he was not found because God had translated him. For therefore, his translation, he had this testimony that he pleased the Most High. You see that? So that was his testimony that he was so pleasing to the Most High carried him out of here. He had so much faith in the Most High brought him up out of here. All right, up out of the physical realm, and just basically took him. So we know that there were only two beings, right? Two beings, right? Human beings that have ever ascended and that did not die, right? And that was Enoch and Elijah. Okay, Enoch and Elijah were the only two men that we read about in the scriptures that basically were taken by the Most High because they pleased him. So they pleased the Most High that much. They were that dedicated to the Most High, and it shows you just how powerful Elijah's supplication was to the Most High to get up out of here. You see that the Most High basically took him. All right. Same thing with Enoch. Okay. So, so not even the Messiah himself got out of here like that. You see that? We see that the creator of all things, right? The one who was like that created this entire planet and everything that's in it. Sit down, son. And everything that's in it, right? He was basically nailed to a piece of wood and killed and died for people that didn't deserve it, right? We talking about we talking about the eternal king. But his faith, his love, you know what I'm saying, in Israel, right? He did what he had to do. All right. And it was the work in which his father had sent him to do. So verse 6. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. So without faith, it's impossible to please the Most High, right? He says, for he that cometh to the Most High must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. All right. So that's one thing you got to understand, man, that, we have to understand that if we don't have the faith, we don't have the trust in the Most High, then guess what? We can't please him. All right. We can't please him. Okay. He's not going to move for us the way that we need for him to do for us. All right. Because if you look at the prophets, right? You know what I mean? Those men, those men were they were, the Most High held them in very high regard. All right. So he says, for he that come to the Most High must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. By faith, Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, was moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith. You see that? So even dealing with the history of Noah, look at Noah, man. The Most High came to Noah and said, "What?" He said, "This is." He said, "The earth is corrupted this way." He said, "I'm going to destroy all things." Right. So he's like, I'm instructing you to build an ark." Okay. And what did Noah do? He was moved with fear, and then he built that ark. All right. Took him almost 100 years, but he built it. Okay. So he made sure, man, he did as he was instructed. Now, if Noah would have slacked and wouldn't have done it, the Most High, the judgment was still gonna come, and he was just gonna, yeah, yeah. the way it was wasn't nobody else. It wasn't nobody else. He would have just fell by the wayside. He would have just got destroyed with everybody else, man. That's just how it is, man. Or the Most High can just could have just took one of his sons. Yeah, that too. Most High could have. Most High could have just created had another set of people created after the flood. The same way he created Adam and Eve. He could have. All right, I'm gonna just create a whole new breed of human being. All right, could did the same thing, man. Because remember, he said, man, they repented me to make, that I made the man. All right. That's how bad things got. They repented the Lord that he made everything, because everything was being defiled in his sight. All right. So now, so now it says, by faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed, and he went out, not knowing whether he went. You see that? So he didn't know where he was going, man. But shoot, he had enough faith to follow the Most High. All right. So that's how much trust that he has. And that's the thing. And that's the thing, man. Like, we still got to even understand as servants that are still learning and continue to grow. Because we have to understand when the Bible talks about perfection. You know what I mean? It's talking about you being of a full age in your spirit, your spiritual growth. All right. You done been past all of the BS, you know what I mean, the funny business and all of that, right? And you growing up, just like when you was a kid, you was doing all of the silly stuff and laughing, giggling, being a little clown. But then, you put all of those things away as you began to grow and mature more. All right. You grew into an aged, what you call an aged man or an aged woman. All right. And it's the same way. It's the same way that how we grow in the spirit. All right. So if you continue, you humble yourself in righteousness and in meekness, then guess what? You still gonna go the same way. You know what I mean? There's a lot of good people out there. That's all they missing, man, is this word. You know what I mean? They could possibly seal their salvation, you know, guaranteed to get in if they would just adhere to this book. All right, and the words that are in it. You know, can't nobody be perfect. Ain't nobody perfect. Blah 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 blah. Okay, that's understandable. We're not talking about you got to be the most squeaky clean person on the face of the earth. But what the Bible is saying is that, man, you're growing up. You know what I mean, in your spirit. All right, you're putting away all of the evil things that you were doing, right? And you know what I mean. You're putting on what you call the immortality. All right. You're not lusting. You're not a fornicator. You're not an adulterer. You know what I mean? You're not a wrathful person. You're not a vengeful person. You know what I mean? You're not an unclean person. You know what I mean? Impure thought, all that stuff. You're putting all of that away and you're putting on the God, all right, complex. Okay. So that's like what Christ be talking about, man. All right. Be ye perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. All right. You know you can't be as holy as the Father, right? But you can take on that. You can take on that mentality and that spirit. All right. So, and the Most High showed you how He rolled in the Scripture. You know, and basically, what I mean is like how He shows you His distaste, His disdain for sin, iniquity. How He hates uncleanness. All right. He loves pure thought. Okay. He loves wisdom, intelligence. You know, that's what the Father enjoys. Okay. He doesn't, yeah, he wants obedience. Okay. Because remember, all things are still subject to him. All right. It's man that got to get his ish together. All right. So now you see, like, and he shows the examples of our fathers, man, that did that had that spirit, okay, on them. He says, by faith, Abraham, when he was called out into a place which he which he after received for an inheritance, obeyed, and he went out not knowing whither he went. So he didn't even know where he was going. He just went. The Most High said, go to this place that I'm going to show you, right? So that's why you see he settled in Syria for a while, and then the Most High called him and said, come out of there, go into the land of Canaan.
He didn't leave there
All right.
because his daddy died.
Yeah, right. He says, by faith he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in the tabernacle of Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. Okay. So Isaac is his son, Jacob is his grandson. They received the same promise. All right. They were promised a land. Okay. And they were promised the servants and that the Most High be their power. All right. Their protection, their shield, all of the above. He says, for he looked for a city which hath foundation, whose builder and maker is the Most High. Through faith also Sarah herself, receiving strength to conceive seed, and was delivered of a child when she was past age. So she was a very old woman when she had her baby, because she judged him faithful who had promised. Okay, who had promised.
The age that she delivered him, most women would have died.
Yeah, yeah.
90 some years old.
Yeah, she was 90 years old when she gave birth to him. Abraham was like 100. All right.
That's an old age.
Because Sarah is like 10 years younger than Abraham.
If she lived during this time, they have her hooked up to every machine possible.
Yeah, yeah. So remember, there was that Indian couple, man. They just showed they were like, the wife was like 74 or something.
Yeah.
They had their first baby.
But that's because in America, you're more likely to die in a hospital while giving birth.
Well, that's because in America they do everything wrong. America does everything right. As technologically advanced as this place is,
it's horrible for a pregnant woman.
Yeah, yeah, because they know best, right? It's BS. But sometimes the old way is the best way, right? So he says, therefore sprang there even of one, and him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky, in multitude as the sand which is by the seashore, innumerable. All right. So remember, that's what the Most High promised Abraham, that his seed, right, will be as the stars of heaven or as the sands of the seashore. They wouldn't be able to be numbered. That's how many descendants that Abraham would have. Okay. But he promised that through what? Through Isaac and through Jacob. All right. So he says, all these died in faith, not having received the promises. So what does he mean by that?
They didn't receive the promises that were promised to them firsthand. They were given to their descendants.
Yes, that's right. So they were given to their descendants, right? They were given to the Israelites, all right?
And it didn't. The crazy part is their faith didn't waver. No matter how
Right.
old they got,
Mm-hmm.
no matter when they died, it was like, oh,
So
check. They didn't say none of that.
yeah, so remember, the land wasn't given to Abraham.
No.
You know what I mean? He wasn't even in possession of it. He bought some land
Yeah.
in there, but he
But
wasn't in
that was just the
possession of
various
it.
why.
All right. But the thing is that the Most High said, your seed is going to possess it. All right. And then what happened? That came to pass in the time of Joshua. Joshua and the Israelites, they conquered the land of Canaan, right? You know what I mean? They took out all the kings of the south and all the kings of the north, right? Possessed the land. It was allotted to them. Bam. Now it's called the land of Israel. All right.
Jacob didn't even get it.
No, Jacob didn't receive it just yet.
Did you lose your mind?
So now he says, so it says, all these died in faith. So they died in faith, okay? He says, not having received the promise, but having seen them afar off. So they seen them they were shown, you know what I'm saying, the promise. They were shown the promise, right? But they ain't received it just yet. Okay. And were persuaded of them and embraced them and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims of the earth. For they that said such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. But now they desire a better country, that is in heavenly, wherefore the Most High is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for them a city. All right, that city, Jerusalem. Okay, so then he says, by faith, Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac, and he that had received the promises offered up his only begotten son. All right. So remember, the Most High did not recognize Ishmael, he only recognized Isaac. Okay, because Isaac was the one who basically the Most High said he was going to continue the covenant through him. All right.
You can imagine how Ishmael felt. He was being treated like the unwanted child, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Abraham said he loved him and he always spoke to him first. Like, what about Ishmael, Lord?
Because the promise wasn't given to him; it was given to Isaac, right? Isaac is the son of Sarah. All right. So remember, it wasn't given to the concubine; it was given to the wife, Sarah. Sarah was the wife that the Most High acknowledged. All right. She was going to have a son by Abraham. She was going to have a child, and the everlasting covenant was going to be established with him and his seed after him. That's it. That's all. All right. So, and even then, man, in this verse 17, man, it also shows you something else about Genesis 21, where it shows you about the offering up of Isaac, right? That basically shows you how the Most High was going to give his son. So that was being shown to us, you know what I'm saying? Thousands of years, before our fathers came onto the scene, right? Even before Yahushua, even before Yahushua, came to give his life for the nation, right? It was being shown to us back then, exactly what the Most High was going to do, huh?
It's funny the examples of what was going to happen to Yahushua. I mean, like we always talk about how Jonah spent 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the well.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Be on the earth 3 days and 3 nights.
Yeah, but we're looking at the similitude of this right here with Abraham and Isaac, right? So you see the Most High, right? The Most High power, Yahweh Shai, right? Father, Son. The Father basically said, "I'm going to give my Son, you know what I mean, to your descendants. You know what I mean, the children of Israel. All right." So now, it makes perfect sense, man. Of why the Most High asked Abraham to offer his only son. But remember what the key is. The things that were written aforetime were for our learning. All right.
Yes.
So it says, verse 18, of whom it was said that in Isaac shall thy seed be called,
Mm-hmm.
accounting that God was able to raise him up even from the dead, from whence also he received him in a figure, right? So now you see that that's why the Most High, that's why Abraham didn't have a problem sacrificing his son, because he understood that the Most High would raise him from the dead.
If he was
All
going to
right.
be what the Most High said he was going to be, he knew that the Most High wasn't just going to kill him.
Yes, exactly. He was going to raise him. He understood he was going to raise him up. You know, he said, "You gave me a son, Father, and I know that what you're asking me to do, it has a purpose." So we see why that was done, right? But it was done so that we would have the understanding later. All right. So it says, by faith Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning the excuse me, concerning things to come. All right. So now you see Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau, right, concerning things to come. What were those things to come with Jacob and Esau?
That Esau was going to come into rulership, and Esau didn't come in the Esau was going to come into rulership and put his brother's people into captivity, and then Jacob was going to rule over his people and all the other nations. No, that was going to be the end.
Good.
Because Esau was going to be
Right.
the end of all the wicked.
Well, let's simplify. Let's simplify it even more. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follow it. Right. You know what I mean? So Esau is the destruction and desolation of the earth, and Jacob is the renewal and the regeneration of the earth, right? So everything's going to be renewed through Jacob. Everything's going to be destroyed now through Esau, all right? So Esau was going to be blessed with power and dominion, right? A temporary power and dominion, and then Jacob was basically going to be given everlasting rulership and dominion, all right? That's what was given to that's what was given to Jacob, you know what I'm saying, and not Esau. All right. So now you see that the everlasting covenant continued through who? Through Jacob. All right. And the promise of the land. All right. It wasn't given to the progenitors of Esau, the Edomites. They remember they got Mount Seir. All right. But you see that what?
No.
Go sit down, son.
Me.
Go sit down. So now you see that he so you gotta calm down, son. Okay, be quiet. Okay. So now you see that what? All right. So now we see that I just lost my train of thought. So yeah, Jacob. So yeah. So Jacob received the land of Canaan, right, in the everlasting covenant, and Esau received Mount Seir in temporary rulership, all right, and dominion over the earth. Okay. So by faith, Jacob, when he was a dying, blessed both sons of Joseph, blessed both the sons of Joseph, and worship, leaning upon the top of his staff. By faith, Joseph, when he died, made mention of the departing of the children of Israel and gave commandment concerning his bones.
Yep,
you see that?
Don't you leave my bones here, Egypt.
Right. You see that? But how did he know? How did he know they were going to leave?
I don't know, but he.
How did he know they were going to? How did they know about? How did he know there was going to be an Exodus? You see what I'm saying? So this is the understanding that's being laid down here, right?
How do you know? But he made sure y'all better not leave my bones. Y'all can get up out of here.
Right. You know what I mean? So he's like, man, take me to the land of my father. And remember, that was done through who? Through Moses. Moses made sure those bones came back and they were buried properly in the land of Egypt. All right. I'm sorry, they were buried properly in the land of Israel. Excuse me. So now it says, by faith, Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months, and his parents, because they saw he was a proper child, and they were not afraid of the king's commandment. So they didn't care about what the king said, you know. You got to drown all of the Hebrew children, all the Hebrew male children. They weren't worried about that. They like, no, we ain't gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? So it says by faith, yeah, by faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. So you see that now he said he refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. All right. He didn't want to have the Egyptian lineage no more. All right. He said, I'm gonna deal with who? Let's read. Choosing rather to suffer affliction and with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. All right. So he said, I'd rather choose to be in affliction with my people rather than choose pleasures, man, the pleasures of sin for a season, worshiping all of the fake gods of Egypt. I'd rather be, you know, broke, busted, and disgusted with my own people, period. All right. Esteeming the reproach of Christ greater, greater riches than the treasures of Egypt. Look at that. He said, esteeming the reproach of Christ, right? Or the reproach for Christ, right? In the Hebrew, all right, is translated greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. By faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible, right? Through the burning bush, all right? He said, through faith he kept the Passover and the sprinkling of the blood, lest he that destroyer the firstborn, he that destroyed the firstborn, should touch them, right? By faith they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land, which the Egyptians, as saying to do, were drowned, right? So remember, the Egyptians, remember, Moses parted the Red Sea, okay, and then guess what? The waters closed on the Egyptians and they all drowned. All right, there's proof of that too. Anybody try to tell you no, that never happened? No, there's actual proof. There are chariots down there, you know what I'm saying, that go all the way back to that dynastic period of Egypt that shows you that they were drowned. All right. So he says, by faith the walls of Jericho fell down, and after they were compassed about 7 days. So the walls of Egypt came tumbling. The walls of Jericho came tumbling down. By faith, the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believed not, when she had received the spies with peace. All right. So everybody didn't believe that the Israelites are going to come in and destroy them, right? Well, guess what? Shoot, remember, she helped the Israelites and she was spared. All right, Most High spared her. And it says, and what shall I say? What more I say? Excuse me. What shall I more say? For the time would fall me to tell of Gideon and of Barak and of Samson and of Jephthah, of David also, and Samuel and the prophets, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, waxed valiant in fight, turned to flight the armies of the aliens. Women received their dead raised to life again, and others were tortured and not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection. You see all of what our fathers went through, about how they did it in faith. You see that? So this is pure. All this is pure history that's being broke down, man. You know, about our fathers and just how much faith they had, right? And he gave some key figures, right? You know what I'm saying, to show us, man, about that faith. From Jephthah, David, Samuel, the prophets, all the prophets, man, that prophesied a word, Gideon, Barak, Samson, you know, all of those men had to have faith to do what they did, all right? And to overcome all of the obstacles, man, that were in front of them, all right? It said 36, and others had trials of cruel mockings and scourgings, yea, moreover, of bonds and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawed asunder, were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, and tormented. You see that? So
Mm.
basically, they lost everything. They lost everything. They were being afflicted, persecuted, all of that. You know what I mean? Brothers and sisters were getting cut to pieces, saw the sun. Remember what we read about it with the Greeks? What was the Greeks doing? They was cutting, they was cutting brothers up, man, boiling them, dismembering them, all that stuff, man. Cannibals. The Greeks weren't cannibals. In our history, it says they are. It shows you they are. What the hell you need a pot for? What do you need frying pans for? To do what? You're cooking. When you're cooking, that means you're eating.
Yeah, and they got
human flesh.
iron animals that they will put people in.
Yeah.
Bellies and then like the belly on fire.
Absolutely.
And like you could hear the people screaming now.
Yeah.
Belly.
So
They were being
so
fried.
so check this out. So now you see it says like what? They were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and in goat skins. You know, all the beautiful raiment that our people had on, guess what? They gave that up, man. They were wearing the sheep clothing that they got from the animals. You know?
That they made.
Yeah. He says, of whom the world was not worthy, they wandered in deserts and in mountains and in dens and in caves of the earth. And all these having obtained a good report through faith. You see that? Through faith. Receive not the promise. So they ain't even received the promise just yet. They're waiting right now to receive it. All right. They're waiting for us to go through what we need to go through just so that they can receive the promise. He says, God having provided some better thing for us, that they without us should not be made perfect. You see that? So they have not received anything just yet, man. They're ready for their reward. They're resting with the Most High. They're ready to receive the kingdom that's been promised to them. But like I said, man, they're waiting for us. All right. So Israel is going to get its kingdom. Okay. So let's go to the book of Second Corinthians chapter 4. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. Let's get verse 16. Second Corinthians 4 and 16, and it says, for which cause we faint not, but through our outward man, but though our outward man perish, yet the inward man is renewed day by day. All right. So though we faint not, meaning we get weak, you know. He says, but though our outward man perish, right? So that's that carnal man that perishes, yet the inward man is renewed day by day. So the inward man, that meaning your spirit is that's what becomes stronger. All right. You're killing off the flesh so that your spirit can become stronger every single day. All right. So that's what we gotta definitely like exercise, man, within ourselves, man, killing the flesh and strengthening the spirit. He says, for our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceedingly and eternal weight of glory. He says, while we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. So he says, for we look not at the things which are seen. So what we're hoping for is not seen. And that's the kingdom of heaven, or the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God. You know what I mean? Eternal life. All of those things. Deliverance. You know what I mean? Seeing the destruction. No, those things we don't see just yet, but those are the things that we're hoping for. We haven't seen the rest of our brothers and sisters, our aunties and our uncles, man, that are kicking it with the Most High right now. All right, we ain't seen them just yet. All right, but they waiting for us. All right. He says, while we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal. So all of this is temporal. But the things which are not seen are eternal. Okay. So we want the things that are eternal. He says, made with hands, eternal in the heavens. Oh, I'm sorry. I read chapter 5. Sorry. But yeah. So of course, um, let me see. I'll stop there. But anyway, so that's what that's the lesson for tonight, man. I hope everybody got some understanding, from it. Um, and all praise to the Most High God. Definitely want to thank him, man, for just keeping us in good health and keeping our children healthy and strong and you know giving us roofs over our head, what I'm saying? Basically giving us finances to put in our pockets to be able to take care of our families, man. Definitely want to thank the Most High, man, for real on all levels, man. So with that, so we'll be having our class tomorrow around 3:30. Um, so that'll be our closing Sabbath class, and we'll be going into you know the early Christianity versus the modern Christianity. Early Christianity basically going into the more orthodox traditions of the children of Israel. You know what I'm saying? They basically were called Christians, and then dealing with the modern Christianity, dealing with like the period of Constantine. Not so much, you know what I'm saying, this day and age as of yet. I'm not going into that, but more so like after the death of Christ. You know what I'm saying? Maybe like 100 to 200 years, after his death. You know what I mean? Where Christianity really began to, be to become became corrupted, or the doctrine became corrupted. All right, shh, quiet. So with that, I say shalom and hope everybody enjoys the Sabbath.